careful of those island boys. Little girl, use your head. They will tear you up like a paper toy. Oh, no, no, no. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, no, no, no.
Hi, I'm Amanda.
And I'm Rumbi.
Welcome to It's Layered.
We're in a long-distance friendship that started over 20 years ago when we were in high school.
We'll be talking about all things life, love, family, anything and everything else under the sun.
Delve deeper with us because in life, you know, Gine, my layers. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of It's Layered, special edition. And today we're so excited. We have a special guest in the building. We have Kai here with us. Welcome, Kai.
Thanks for having me.
Yes.
Yay!
Okay. We're so excited. But before we get into all things, delve all the way deeper with you, we just wanted to let the people know a little bit about Kai. Who is Kai? And what's she all about? In the short time since Kai formally introduced herself to the world, she's already won over audiences with a celebratory, absolutely celebratory, sun-soaked sound that effortlessly bridges pop and R&B, keeping joy and freedom at the forefront with shining rhythmic deliveries, championing her undeniable songwriting and vocal talents. Zimbabwean-born, what up? London-raised, now Naarm/Melbourne-based, Kai's relationship with music blossomed as a young child growing up in the UK.
In between vivid memories spent singing through sickness and health, gospel songs, which all Zimbabweans can relate to, talent shows, girl bands, and more, her voice flourished with each deep embrace of her identity. Deeply informed by her experience as a young Black woman experiencing life through a predominantly white societal lens, which this podcast completely gets, Kai finds herself today confident, strong, and humble, ready to share her mantra of embracing openness and finding joy in it with the world. Welcome to It's Layered Podcast, Kai.
I'm so excited to be here and to talk to you guys. That bio makes me sound so cool.
You are cool.
You are cool. Honestly, like we'll get into all that, but yeah, we're so grateful that you could be here. And after such an amazing bio, how would you describe yourself, Kai? Like in a few words, in a sentence, in a paragraph, how would you know if someone said, "Who's Kai?"
Ooh.
Yeah.
I would probably say Kai is like a multi-genre artist based in Naarm, Zimbabwean-born. Yeah, I don't know. It's so hard to, when someone says, tell me about yourself, and you go,
Exactly what?
Exactly. Go out the window. But
Yeah.
definitely a multi-genre artist. Sort of making pop, R&B, dance music, with just a focus on fun and joy and enjoyment. Yeah.
Love that. We've spoken a lot about being a third culture kid, balancing all the cultures we come from. How do you think being born in Zimbabwe, raised in the UK, and now based in Melbourne has shaped your musical journey?
I think all of the different cultures and, different versions of my upbringing is kind of the reason why I'm such a multi-genre artist. I think, when you've lived in all these different places and you've had to adapt a whole bunch of times and, meet new people and be in different environments, it makes you such, I guess, like a hybrid person. And I think that makes my music sound like that because that's what my personality is like. I'm just, a combination of all the places I've been and all the things that I've learned and the people I've met. So yeah, I think it heavily informs my music because I don't really make one sound that can be put into, one box.
Yes.
And that's just how I am as a personality. So
yeah, absolutely. And I love that multifacetedness. I think so often we are denied of that. You're allowed to be all these things, right? It's like, oh, if you're going to identify as this, you're only this. Or if you're going to identify as that, you're only that. And it's beautiful when we can embrace all of that. So
absolutely.
It's
I
wonderful.
think it took me even like a while in my like musical journey to you know, even identify as Zimbabwean-born. I think that was such a big turning point for me, because I was like, actually, that does inform my music. And maybe it means that I don't make Afrobeats and I don't make Zimbabwean music, but I can still identify with saying, oh, this is my culture, this is where I was born, and these are the ways that it influences my music without having to make a specific type of music. I think especially in Western media, there is such a, you know, a preconception about the music that Africans make and the art that Africans make. So immediately when you say, oh, I am from Zimbabwe, they're like, okay, give us the Zimbabwe music. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think there was even a push and pull there of being like, actually, no, let me introduce my culture into this. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Speaking of culture, how did your close family and friends support you in becoming a musician? What was that journey like for you when you
I
decided
think
to
there was a
pursue
lot
it?
of fear at the beginning. I think, you know, you probably would understand, you know, coming from Zim, and like my parents having moved us from Zim, and we've moved to different places around the world. For them, you know, everything was very much about how do we, you know, keep our family sustained? How do we go and find a job that's going to keep us pushing through? And for them, it was all about like, how do we survive and take care of these kids? And then I think for us kids, we've gone, okay, well, now I've got this whole world full of opportunities and I want to do something a bit weird. And your parents go,
Yeah.
wait, what?
You're a doctor or a lawyer. Oh, we're not talking about it.
So yeah, I
Exactly.
think you know, they get you through school, they get you all educated, and I went off to uni and I was pre-med for a couple of years, and then I decided I didn't want to do it. So
Ooh, I
it
want
was
to
a
be
bit
at
of
that
Wow.
table, that
Wow.
conversation of
Wow.
I don't
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
do.
that was
Exactly.
an uphill battle for a while, and you know, mum and dad didn't really get it. You know, until the music started coming out and you know, things started happening. But they've always been supportive. They've always, you know, they've always known that I loved music and I loved singing, and they always wanted me to do it. But it was just that thing of like, we don't know anything about the music industry or how people release songs or how people get a record deal, and you know, how are you going to make money? How are you going to survive? So I think yeah, it was a big conversation, but they are the most supportive parents in the world now. Like they back everything I do. They support me. They come to every show. Like they're the best.
We love
Yeah,
that.
we heard you on your bossing song when you speak a few bars of Shauna. We're like, yeah,
Yeah.
it feels lovely to be seen. And I think you're so right. It's our parents always operate from a place of fear because for them, they were probably the first generation to really experience quote unquote material success. So to them,
Yeah.
they're like, it can be taken away. You have to have security, security, security. And then we're the generation after that, like we're secure. Now
Yeah.
what, you know?
And
And I
now we
think it's
dream. Yeah.
yeah, now we dream,
Yes.
right? Now we can do
Yeah.
those other things that you wanted us to do. Deep down, this is what you were doing it for. But I think this is
Exactly.
so hard for them to fathom. How do you
Yeah, it really
yourself
is.
keep yourself motivated as a young Black woman experiencing life through a predominantly white lens, as you said in your
Mm.
bio?
I think like as much as it is difficult, it's also really exciting. I think you know, there's that feeling of pushing the envelope and pushing that glass ceiling further and further up. And knowing that the more that I push and the harder I work, the easier it's going to be for, you know, the next young Black girls who are making music, you know, in white Australia. I think by the time I've gone and done it, you know, the next batch that's coming up, it's just going to be, you know,
So normal.
a much easier journey for them. So there's always that in the back of my mind. But I think it's also just exciting feeling like, oh, you know, we're actually going to push some barriers here and we're going to see what it looks like to see change actively happen. Then it's frustrating some days and it's hard some days, but other days you get those big wins and you actually really get to go, yes,
Yeah.
I did that, and I get to claim that, and I get to say, you know, I get to put my heritage and my culture at the forefront, and you know, let the white people watch me do it.
And enjoy you while you do that
Yeah.
as
Absolutely.
well. Enjoy it while you do
Absolutely.
that. Because I think
Yeah.
that there's something really special. As much as there's pushback sometimes on culture or difference, I think there's something that draws people to, you know, be like, wow, like that's something that's different to me, and so on and so forth. So I think it's really inspiring what you're doing. And we wanted to know who inspires you musically, like your journey, your sound, and all that, if you could share with us.
Yeah, it's always so hard to pinpoint musical influences because I think it just expands and changes every day. But my parents brought me up on a lot of like Michael Jackson and Whitney Houston and Shaka Khan and, you know, all of those great, great artists from that time. So R&B and soul music and like great pop music has always been something that I had around me. So I think, yeah, my early songwriting was definitely like, oh, you know, I know this Michael Jackson song because I know it's got this hook. So I've got to write songs that have got hooks. So I think, yeah, the early influences is that. And then, yeah, just as I've gotten older, just discovering more and more artists that I love. I'm a big Beyonce fan.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing how much I love
you came to the right
You don't have to tell us twice.
You came to the right
You don't need to tell
platform.
us twice.
Yeah, no, I have an embarrassing love for Beyonce, and just her work and her career has been really inspiring to watch. And then, you know, just some of the newer R&B stuff that's coming out, SZA and, you know, all this kind of artists, Kehlani, who sort of make that alternative R&B. And I think it was really cool listening to that music when people weren't really across it yet. And now if you say SZA, everyone knows who SZA is.
Yes.
But if you said
Yeah.
SZA 5-6 years ago, people would be like, oh, I don't know, I've not heard of that artist before. So I think not so much sonically. I think you know, I don't really make super R&B music anymore. But I think, yeah, definitely career-wise and watching, you know, other Black young artists sort of come up from the underground and really place themselves in the mainstream, yeah, has definitely been a big influence.
I mean, speaking on that, you know, we always talk about things we want to see or places we want to be. And for you musically, who do you think you would love to collaborate with?
Oh, I mean, number one, Beyonce. I say it for every interview. If I'm asked a question, I always say it. Because I know that if I say it enough times, it'll happen. So
Yeah.
number one, Beyonce.
She be
absolutely.
watching this Beyonce's internet,
Yeah.
so she
When
knows.
Beyonce is
She
watching
knows.
this back, she'll know.
Yeah, she'll know. Exactly.
Absolutely. There's so many, honestly. If there wasn't Beyonce, gosh. I mean, Ed Sheeran, honestly, I think Ed Sheeran is one of the greatest pop songwriters like in the world right now. Ed Sheeran, Max Martin, yeah, a lot of amazing pop songwriters out there. So yeah, but number one, Beyonce.
Yeah. Queen, you heard us.
The queen,
Queen
bow
Bee.
down to the queen.
Just saying. Which would you say you enjoy? I think people often say it's hard to choose. It's like choosing which is your favorite child, but what do you enjoy more? The songwriting aspect or being a vocalist? Because your vocals are quite like, you know, like really impressive, just the way you're able to scale and you just, you know, listening to some of your covers, like it's just really, really inspiring. So which side of it do you enjoy more? The songwriting or the vocals, performing? I don't know. Anyone?
Oh, it is hard. It is like picking your favorite child. I think lately it's been like vocals, the actual, I think like artistry behind vocals has been a big thing for me. I think in my previous records, I think a lot of people who know me or have heard me sing have been like, oh, you don't really sing on your records, which is really interesting because they're right. I don't really have to work hard vocally on some of the records I've put out. A lot of the newer music is like vocally heavy, like really I've had to get really into the nitty-gritty of like my singing and really use my vocals for the stuff that's coming out later. So I've been really in that space at the moment, just really working on vocal arranging and I mean, getting better as a vocalist too. I teach vocals. I have about 50 students. So that's been like a big part of the process. I've been teaching for about 1.5 years. So it's been really, really interesting to get into the mechanics of my voice. So that's been really fun. But
That's
I think
amazing.
as we gear up to go back on tour, I'm so excited to get back on stage because I think that is my happy place. I love being on stage.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And would there be anyone that you would love to songwrite with, for, collaborate with on a songwriting scale? Because we talked about on a song overall, but like anyone you'd love to write with? I know you mentioned Ed Sheeran. Is there anyone else that?
Yeah, honestly, I would love for Ed Sheeran to write me a song. But yeah, at the moment, I think my focus has been collaborating with people who are really different to me and make really different music to me. Like I just did a couple of sessions with an Australian artist named G Flip, and their music couldn't be any more different to what I make. And the music that we made was really, really cool and really opened up a new space for me. So I think, yeah, without sort of pinpointing any names, I think there's so many artists that I would love to work with who are just in a completely different genre to me. So I think that's probably
Yeah,
the
that's
next
so
step.
beautiful. You know, it's so interesting you talk about how your voice, I think we forget that voices are instruments. I remember when we were like in music school in high school and they'll be like,
Yes.
oh, you can do music. And then people would be expecting you to play an instrument and some people would just sing a cappella. And it's like, well, yeah, that is an instrument. So it's beautiful that you're even teaching music and using our voices. It's such a, I don't know, it's such a, I guess, underrated part of music. It's funny. We know you're a singer, but then we always listen to the production and we forget that you're a vocalist first, right?
Yeah, no, it's really true.
Yeah.
It's really true. I think even as I've gotten back to being more of an instrumentalist, because I do play, I think even getting back to that and being like, oh, I have to give as much practice and time to singing as I have to give to guitar or piano or so yeah, and how technical it all is. So yeah, but voice is such an interesting instrument because it's so personal. You know, if you play the wrong note on the piano or you hit the wrong drum, it's a bit like, oh, whoops. But if you
Yeah.
sing the wrong note, it's so deeply like personally reflective. I think that it's very vulnerable, it's very exposing. So yeah, no, it's been fun to dig into.
It's so funny you say that because we grew up in the era of like Christina Aguilera, and I remember on one of her studio sessions, she had like the lights dimmed and everything was just because she's like, I just want people to focus on my voice and not like what I look like. And it's just so interesting. I was just wondering for you, well, I mean, we've just been in the same studio, so we feel like we've already hung out with you because we recorded our special at the Bay Studios as well in South Melbourne. What do you think you enjoy most about being in the studio?
Oh gosh, so you would have seen the bass, which is great for context because it's such like a, it depends on how you light it, I think, but it's such like a moody and just like the atmosphere of it is just very intimate, I think. So I really like to get into intimate space when I'm recording. Because it really does affect it. It affects the way that you sing and perform. I can't do it with bright lights on. My voice sounds completely different under bright lights than it does, you know, in a dark space, which is so funny. It's so weird. But I think it's just
that is true.
however it affects your brain is just how the sound comes out, which is really funny.
Wow.
But I love recording at the base. It's been my home now for a while, and my first sort of music that came out as Kai was all recorded at the base, and I haven't recorded anywhere else since. So yeah, it's just my little musical home.
Yeah, it was great.
It's a good
We had
space.
a great time recording there, and just as you said, the energy is just really, really great. You shared a little, so you like the more sort of dimmed side of things when it comes to recording. Can you share a bit about your creative process? Because you know what? I always wonder about the songwriters or the singers, you know, especially if you have a hands-on approach to creating your music and seeing it through from the start to the finish. What does that look like? Because I think sometimes as regular humans, we can't fathom like, so where does the song come from? You know what I mean? Like how
what's the creative process?
What does that creative process look like for you? Or does it differ and change? Like, do you have like a set
It does
way?
chop and change around, but I think that question you asked before, where does the song come from, is a really interesting question and something that I've been, I think, grappling with probably for the last few years, because I think my best songs that I've ever written feel like they fall out of the sky. Like it doesn't feel like I write them. It feels like they just happen to me, and then I happen to just be there at the right time and place. So yeah, I think my favorite songs, I've written them driving and they just happen all like linearly. Or in the shower and the whole song happens. And the last song that I wrote that I really loved, I felt like was the best song I've ever written. I had heard two chords on a guitar and it just happened.
Wow.
And, the people in the room were like, what just happened there? Like you heard the sound and then you just
You know the Christians in Zimbabwe be like, it's like manna.
It's like manna falling. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, it's like you just reached up in the air and just grabbed it and pulled it out.
Yeah.
So I think that's something I've been just trying to, I think I'll never understand
Understand it.
that, that
But I think
spiritual
there's
element of it.
something really, when I've been reading different things, and well, specifically Power of Now, I've been reading Ikigai and things like that, and talks about flow. And when you're in flow, and it's almost like an element, that's why consciousness is so important, because you're not in your head, you're just in flow with whatever you believe, whatever the universe, whoever is talking to you, and then that's where it just comes to you. And it really shows that you really are in contact with your flow and kind of moving in that. So that's really beautiful. So guys, there's no like secret. I'm sure there are recipes to like creating a good song.
She's like, I just get it, like, it just comes to me, guys.
It just comes,
I
y'all.
think like as well, I think like flow is really important, but I think even like flow within yourself. I can't write songs if I don't feel good. Like if I don't take care of myself, if I'm not like on my absolute 100% in terms of like, am I being healthy? Am I exercising? Am I reading? Am I surrounding myself with people who make me happy? Am I having a good time in general in life? I can't be creative, because I think, being creative out of negativity is just not, it's not me. Like I just feel like I just can't go into that space. I can't get into that place where I guess I can receive. But yeah, I think being on that wave for a while now of just being like, how do I actually make myself feel better has been just an unlocking point for songwriting and being creative and just opening up my artistry in general. Yeah.
We love that for you. We love that. Beautiful.
Yeah. I think self-care is such a thing that it's almost got to the point where it's become luxury, right? People always think self-care, oh, you have to go to the spa, or you have to, and those things definitely got a space. We all love a spa day. But like, I think what you're saying, like even on the day-to-day, checking in with yourself is so important. And I think that's the lovely thing about your music. It's just so fun. Like it's just
joyful.
So fun. You cannot listen to it and not be in a good mood at the end of it. And I think it's such a special talent that you have, that you bring that out, Like even if you don't know the lyrics, you're like, you're just like, oh my God, this is so fun.
1, 2 step. Let's go.
Like, you just feel like dancing. So I love it when I saw your shows, I was like, oh my gosh, people are really responding to that energy. And I think especially in this world, there's so much going on. It's nice to have that spark on those moments of just pure joy and fun. Absolutely. But how does it feel for you performing your songs live?
Oh, so fun. So much fun. I think even before writing the Ribena EP, a big thing was, how do I make it so that when I'm performing, the whole thing is fun? And I think there is a place for sad songs. There's definitely a place for more serious topic songs, and a lot of other artists do that, and they fill that space, and I'll eventually do that as I move into my album. But I think if there is an underlying feeling of, actually, even if it is a sad song, I still want you to be able to find your joy in there, because sadness doesn't negate joy. So I think just finding that feeling
that's
of,
a bar right there. Sadness does not negate joy. Can we just take a moment?
Snap for that. Snap for that.
Yeah. Sorry, absolutely. Carry on.
Yeah, but I think, wanting to engage with that part of your audience and being like, I want you to feel joy is, it just makes performing incredible, because it's no longer about you. It's not, oh, I'm on this stage and I want you to look at me and look at all the things I do and listen to my voice. It's like, oh, let's have an experience together. Yeah.
Beautiful. And speaking of sadness, does not negate joy. Now this is gonna be a quotable. We're gonna be out here saying sadness don't need to negate joy. Okay, that's what we're gonna say in the streets. But your song Tuesday, I think, speaks that, because it's not really a happy song. Am I right in the way I understood it? Because sometimes you misunderstand the song, but like it's not really a happy song, but you made it joyful. I watched the music and I was like, oh my gosh, and then I was like, but if you listen clearly, it's not. So absolutely. I think that epitomizes so perfectly what you just said. It's like you can cry on a bed of flowers, and you know what I mean. So I think that juxtaposition was just so beautifully done. So Yeah, so creative. Any advice that you have for upcoming artists or those who want to work in the music industry? Because as you said, I think historically, especially in Zimbabwe, fun fact, I wrote a song at 16. I even recorded it. I want to be an artist. Then my parents were like, not going to happen. And I listened and, c'est la vie. But any advice for, as you said, you're trying to carve a way for the younger generation, so it's a little easier, or it feels a bit more normalized for them to see themselves doing the things that were not easy to do, where we had to push against the grain as you did. Any advice or thoughts for them?
Just that authenticity is everything. I think if you do everything from an authentic place, then, whether it's in the business side of music or whether it's in the creative process, you'll always have the outcome that you're proud of. I think it's really easy to lose yourself in, an industry that's like this, and it's all about entertainment and it's all about being in front of people. It's really, really easy to just become a version of yourself and not just truly yourself. So I think really sticking to being your authentic self is what's going to make you happy at the end of the day, and what's actually going to bring you success, because nobody can be as you. And that's what's going to be different on the market too. So I think just, being absolutely you to a fault is the way to go. And I think just injecting your personality into everything that you do as well, making music that actually connects to you, not just, singing songs on a piece of paper, actually having a personal and real connection to your art. I think just being real, if I had to sum that up, is just being real. Yeah.
Absolutely. No one can be you. Nobody can be you, as you said.
Be more
Beautiful.
you than you.
More you than you. Bars, another one.
Another one. You see?
Another one.
This is, I must say, this is what I love about Gen Z. I feel like you guys just get it. And there's a lot of conversation around Gen Z, and obviously we're not Gen Z, we're millennials. But what do you think with the dialogue around millennials and Gen Z? Do you think millennials can take anything from Gen Z? And is there anything you would take from millennials, or is it just like?
I think it's so funny because I'm technically what they call a cusper, because I'm not quite Gen Z, but I'm not quite a millennial either. And I grew up with all the stuff that millennials grew up with, but I'm too young to be like a millennial. So I'm a cusper. So I've got a bit of both.
Okay.
So I think there's things to learn from both. I think Gen Z has really gotten I think emotional openness and vulnerability, having that included in the mainstream conversation is something that I've noticed from Gen Z that is massive. Like, people are really talking about their feelings, which when I was in high school, that was not a thing. We didn't do that. So I think that's been really cool and really important. And I think Gen Z does have that whole thing where you can be, an individual and you can be really authentic. But I think that millennials also have this realism that's we can be all of these, but we need a functional way to do it, because we've seen what happens when the big dreaming boomers dream away and dream the future away. So I think
we suffer thanks to them. So
I think they've got that realness. I think if you brought that all in together, there's just you get a really wonderful mix for a society. But we'll see how we go. Gen Z is getting a little crazy.
I think for me it's the social media stuff for me. I'm just I cannot and I commend you. Your reels are so fun. They're so you get to know you really. Oh my gosh, I feel like I know you. I feel like little sis doing a thing, Whereas I think for our generation, we're I cannot be doing that, what I mean?
No one should see me like this.
So funny, the difference. The confidence. Great. It's great.
I love the call out to everyone was saying, when are you getting back to your real songwriting or
when are you getting back to some serious writing?
Serious writing.
That was too funny. I was like, oh my gosh.
And even when you were looking for the clip from Wendy Williams, and you're like, there's a thing called legal. I was like, I cracked up. I was like, oh god,
it was too funny.
Maybe release a whole song and then forget about the legal part of it. It's just, and everyone just giving you recommendations. That's the beautiful aspect, I guess, that it's a community, and you're definitely in touch with your community, which is a beautiful thing to see. Because I think sometimes, especially being from Zimbabwe, we use social media to perform, to show off, and we forget that there's people receiving And those people
Absolutely.
need that interaction. And yeah, of course, it gets overwhelming, but there's definitely space where it's like you're not just coming on here to show off, you're coming on here to really connect.
Yeah.
There's
Absolutely.
intent behind it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think working with like artists that are bigger than me, like when I first started in music and was doing like a lot of backing vocal stuff, seeing their fan bases, because some of them are crazy. Like working with Rule, like his fan base is one of the most insane fan bases I've ever encountered. Like they are just so loyal and like attached, but like attached to each other as well. Like they've really become this really like glued community. So you'd end up on your Instagram and you go into your request folder and you see that it's like groups of girls who have met each other at concerts or met each
Wow.
other online, and they've added you into the group to be like, we need to get information from her about this artist. We need to get her to talk to us. But like there were girls who were from totally different parts of the world and they were best friends in this chat. And they would come in and they would tell each other about their day and like their struggles. And like I've stayed in the requests, like they've stayed in the request folder, but I've read those groups for years. Like they are still friends. Like they've been since they were like 12 and now they're 19 and they're still on there talking to each other. And it's like, wow, this one
Beautiful.
thing, it's community together. So I think community is like invaluable. It's amazing.
That's beautiful. Your sound on, your hit songs like Bossin and Ribena.
Ribena.
Guys, I'm not Australian. I don't know what Bossin and Ribena definitely gave me MTV Select vibes, like Rewind by Artful Dodger, and also a bit of like Craig David Fill Me In. You know that
Absolutely.
it's very
You
like
can say you can't say she's a Casper in the music.
Yeah. So when you're talking about being a Casper, I was like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
What drew you to that song? Because it felt so nostalgic for me listening to it. I'm a full-on millennial, I can't even deny it.
Yeah.
Listening to that really gave me like that vibe, but like obviously you breathe new life into it. It was it's so great to see just how you did that. So tell me about, I can go on, but tell me about your thought
so
process.
that's like that's what's really nostalgic for me, that sound, because that would have been around like 2000 2001. And that's when I moved to the UK as a kid. So like those were the first sort of songs that I was listening to in the car with my parents, like driving around. So
what was that? Like Top of the Pops? Top of the what? What was
Top
it
of the
called?
Pops.
Top of the Pops.
BBC Radio 1, like Radio 1 Extra, Kiss, like all of those radio stations. And it actually, like I had a full circle moment last year because I got to go and talk about bossing on Kiss. And I was like, I would have heard, Daniel Bedingfield and Craig David on Kiss when I was a kid. So then to have my own, two-step song that's being played on Kiss later was like just mind-blowing. But yeah, that's a really nostalgic like era for me and a really nostalgic sound. And a lot of that like Britpop is a big influence on me as well, like Sugar Babes and all of that music. Yeah.
Get me back. Okay.
Yeah.
I've been
what we're going to be doing the rest of the day, listening to Britpop.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because I had a recent like rewind of like even Spice Girls and like I don't know, all these artists.
The Spice Girls were in their bag.
They were in it,
Oh my goodness. And that song, you remember Superstar by Jamila?
Yes.
Yeah.
That really had a comeback. Like it really came back.
Yeah, that was
yeah, that sound is really like my childhood. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
I think that's what I love about TikTok as well, because all those sounds come back. Like someone would do a reel about it, all of a sudden people are like, oh my gosh, remember that song? And then it just has a resurgence.
Exactly.
And I think even some songs are coming back on the charts that are like years old.
They're charting all over again.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's
really
wonderful.
Crazy.
So thank you for that. It was really, really lovely to hear that in juxtaposition with, like I was saying, Tuesday and Sometimes, which I love how you did that, especially the end of that video, just like the kind of sadness meets like hysteria, like because you like combine hysterically laughing with like this pain you're going through. I just love how your interpretation of all these emotions and songs is so uniquely yours. And then the fashions, I mean, Amanda can talk a bit more about the fashions in your music videos and, so just really love, as you're saying, how you're multi-hyphenate and you're multifaceted and how it all comes together. It's done really well. So Thank you for
Oh,
that.
thank you. Thanks for noticing the fashion. I'm a fashion girly. I love
Ah!
my fashion.
You came
Love
to the right
my
place. You came to the right place.
Any upcoming projects we should start looking out for? I know you've been teasing us on the socials, but anything
Yes,
you
I
want to share?
have. I have. I do have a song coming out. It's coming out on Feb 21st. So yeah, I haven't actually announced the date yet, but we're getting really close. We're less than 3 weeks out. So we've got a song coming out. It's called Now Come On Now. I've been teasing it on my socials, and the sound is actually available to use on socials now. And then we have another song that I won't announce the name of yet, coming out straight after that. And it's almost, I guess it's kind of my little send off to the Ribena era. Just putting the lid back on and putting it back in the fridge for a little bit. Yeah, I've started writing an album, which has been big and scary and wonderful and exciting. But again, just like another iteration of myself and just another evolution. So yeah, just kind of putting this party era to rest for a second and just like getting those last couple of tracks out. So they'll be out, yeah, end of this month, which is crazy.
Oh, we can't wait. You can't wait to hear them and obviously hear the song in full. We've been loving the snippet, the sound. So yeah, we can't wait to hear it.
And happy birthday for Tuesday to you.
Thank
Honestly, keep shining. You know, you epitomize joy. I think that's a really, if I were to bottle you up, it would be like you are like spring in a bottle or joy in a bottle, and just
I love
so
that.
keep that energy going. We love
Thank
to see
you.
it.
Yeah, we definitely do love to see it. And also loving to see that even though you like this person who has all these cultures within you, it's just a positive space. It's not like a negative thing. You know, sometimes we're like, oh, I don't feel like I belong anywhere, but it's like you found
Yeah.
your space and you found your sound and you found your music. And I think music is something that unites people no matter where they're from. And you're definitely proof
Absolutely.
of that. So keep going. We're watching.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much. And thank you to our listeners for joining us for yet another episode of It's Late podcast. We appreciate you. If you haven't already, please check out Kai. Kai, what are your social media handles? Where can people find you?
You can find me on all platforms, and it's at GetItKye, GetItkye.
Exactly. And she's so much fun to like watch.
Yes.
Do yourself the favor. Do yourself the favor. Thank you so much for being here. Amanda, as always, thank you for doing this with me. And we'll see you on the next episode. Goodbye.
Bye.
They'll use your hands, they will tear you up like a paper toy.